Let's talk about how to stay warm in winter. First of all, how do we get cold? I'll show you. There are two ways to get cold. You got conduction and you got convection. Conduction would be if you touch something that conducts heat away from your body quickly. An example of that would be if you touch really cold metal, your hand's going to get cold more quickly than if you were to touch paper. Just like if you have water and you're in cold water, your body's going to cool off a lot faster than it would if you were dry. Convection is a little harder to understand, but bear with my artwork and I'll show you. Your body warms up the fluid around that, be that air, water, etc. When you have wind pushing that layer away, then you're going to have to warm up more air over and over and over to stay warm. This is how wind chill works. This is why you blow on hot food, and this will cool you off in a hurry. We need to mitigate this effect to stay warm. Animals get around this by using thick fur that creates a barrier of insulation and traps air. Feathers, specifically the down, works really well to do this. Some animals, like deer, have hollow hair that traps air. Air is a really bad conductor compared to water or metal, so you get cold slower with it. Since we don't have fur and feathers, we have to use other materials like wool and leather to stay warm. Something like this wool mitt works really well for trapping air and keeping you warm, but does little to keep the wind from getting through. A better option would be something like this leather mitten that the wind can't penetrate through. This will effectively reduce your convection and your conduction and keep you warmer. If you've been keeping up, you'll understand now that being dry keeps you warmer than being wet. So to effectively create a dry environment around our body, we're going to use 3 layers to dress. We're going to use a base layer. This will transport moisture away from our skin. We're going to use a mid layer, and that's going to be where the bulk of our insulation is. And then we're going to use a shell. Its job is to prevent wind from cooling us off. Let me show you how we do that in practical life. As you can see, we're wearing a base layer. This is going to get the sweat away from our skin. The second step, we're going to add a mid layer to insulate. As our last step, we're going to add a shell that's going to insulate him as well as keep the wind out. Let's talk different fibers. Wool and synthetics are good because they keep you warm when they're wet. Things like cotton are less good. They breathe really well, but they'll make you cold because they lose most of their insulation value when they're wet. This layering system applies to footwear as well. I like to wear a thinner wool sock, this one from Costco, inside a thicker wool sock. This allows me to transport moisture away from my foot into the outer layer. Now what about the boots? Something like this is great for warmer weather. It's non-insulated. As you can see, it's only a thin layer of leather and a lining. Something like this with thick neoprene is going to keep you much warmer in the winter. Plus, with its height up your shin, it's going to keep you dry in deep snow. It's important to keep your core warm. That'll allow warm blood to flow to your extremities and retain feeling. Warm bibs like this are an excellent way to keep your core warm and allow you to retain movement of your arms. Throughout the day, you'll probably get wet gloves and want to switch them out. Forestry prefers these Duray gloves because they're cheap and they retain a lot of warmth even when they're wet. Most people have a lot of blood flow to their brains. Wearing things like a buff around your neck and a toque on your head will help keep you warm. Steel-toed boots, because they conduct more heat away from your feet, often make your feet cold. A good way to get around this is to take hand warmers and put them near your toes. One last tip is to remember to eat the right sorts of things to stay warm. Foods like this that have a lot of sugars and carbohydrates will give you quick energy, but they won't have the slow burn you're looking for. Something like this with more fats and proteins is going to have a slower burn and will keep you warm for longer. Lastly, remember to drink. It's really easy to forget to drink water in the winter, but your body can't function properly if it's not adequately hydrated.